Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast. Really tough one tonight. Cubs lose the opener to the St. Louis Cardinals on a beautiful night at Wrigley Field. Cubs back to 8.5 games back of first place after the Brewers and Reds both win today. Cubs now 12-2 against the National League Central. And all around, just a really tough game from the jump for Marcus Stroman, a really tough game for the offense. Once again, a lot of the same storylines. We're really riding that roller coaster again, Cody, and I hate to say it, but this was the game of the series you absolutely needed to have just based on the pitching matchup, and we're going to get into the details. Great to see everybody hanging out. We appreciate it. Give us a like. Kevin Wells again sitting in for Luke Stuckmeyer tonight alongside Cody Delmendo. This is a session for you guys tonight because if you're just as frustrated as we are watching that game, we understand. It's hard. It's getting really difficult to watch this team lose games that they just need to have. Every game is crucial at this point. You don't need us to sit here and tell you that. You know that. But Marcus Stroman tonight, I know he didn't have good defense, but he didn't show up tonight, and the Cubs offense didn't show up tonight. Both can be true in a game that you just needed to have to kick off this 4-game set, Cody.
Yeah, I would say this game was about as telling as it ever has been as to like just where the organization is right now, right? Like, sure, I started flying the white flag on Monday after they lost to the first game against the Nationals, but you know they were down to 7.5 in the division. Hell, they were going into the game. They were 6.5 back in the wild card. If they win tonight, they'd be 6 games back in the wild card at the very least. But in a game they needed to win, it was just a very telling game of like where this team and organization is, because this team's supposed to be built on pitching and defense. And listen, the pitching overall has been very good all season. The defense has been pretty good all season. But in basically the most important game of the year, in terms of whether they're buying or selling, you didn't get the pitching and you didn't get the defense tonight. Sure, the offense didn't show up, and that's even more frustrating considering they went up against Steven Matz, who's 0-7 with an ERA over 5 as a starter this year. So, whoop-de-fucking-do, I don't know. Like, it was all bad tonight.
The Cardinals tonight.
It was one of. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
It's just one of those things where it's like, and you kind of kept saying it on the couch. It's like you needed to win this game, and these are the types of games that like kind of define a team, can kind of show like what kind of team you are, mental toughness, all this stuff, and you just come out there and really just lay an egg, and it's just. I'm not surprised anymore. I'm not frustrated. I'm just whatever, like some people are okay with it. Some people are probably happy they lost tonight because they want the Cubs to sell. Sorry, I think differently, but in terms of like how I wanted the season to go, we're at a point where it just feels like that's what's going to happen unless they win the next 3 and Milwaukee drops a handful of games this weekend. Like they're going to definitely need some help, but I think this game was just about as telling as it ever was as far as like what this team is. And it's a sub below 500 team that will have peaks and valleys and is just inconsistent. And it, based off roster construction in terms of how they decide who to roster on who to put on the roster that's within the organization, it seems like they're just unserious, and that's just where it is, man. Like
Right.
I don't sound like I'm that frustrated or pissed off or whatever, and I'm sorry if that is bothering some of you, but, like, I don't know what else to say to you guys anymore. Like, I had higher expectations for this year. I wanted meaningful games in September, and that doesn't even mean making the playoffs. I just wanted to I didn't want the season to basically be over at the end of July, and it just feels like that's what it's going to be unless a lot of these young guys come up and, do some crazy shit,
Well, and that's why it hurts so much right now is because let's look at this just cleanly quick. It's game 1 of 4. Your playoff hopes are not dashed yet, although every game feels like a knife through the heart because of the importance of all of them, and being down 8.5 is no easy task to come back from. But it stings. Tonight stings, and the chat is blowing up, and everybody's angry because it's the Cardinals. They've been in the basement all season. They've kind of climbed back out of it, but you just have not been able to take advantage of games that you've been supposed to win. You brought up the London game. The game on Sunday where Stroman also started, a game you just need to have. This was another one that just for motivation purposes, for just having a good overall mental outlook on these games, the Cardinals are looking at this now like, hey, we just took out Stroman and the Cubs offense looked lifeless. We're going to carry a lot of momentum into these next 3 games. They've won 9 out of their last 11 games. They've come out of the All-Star break red hot. We knew they weren't going to go away. But it stings right now, and it stings more because it's the Cardinals and because you've played better than them for most of the year, but yet in these situations, it's not there. And I want to talk a little bit about Marcus Stroman tonight because, listen, he has been awesome this season. There's no doubt about it. He's been one of the best pitchers in the National League this season. Yes, there was some bad defense behind him. Wisdom struggled at third tonight. I don't know his runs saved at third this year, but I do know that he's been a solid third baseman. He's not really made any glaring issues that pop into my mind. He had a really rough night tonight. But as a pitcher, you have to be able to overcome that. You saw him overcome it with the double play ball to end, I believe, the second or third inning. But he didn't work a clean inning tonight. The walks, the pitch location, the slurve was all over the place. It was left, it was right. 0-2 home run to Walker. I mean, Stroman did not have it tonight. I don't think it's a complete reflection of his whole season because you're right, the defense was bad, and that did lead to an unearned run, and it does give a team like the Cardinals that's already come in with, they've been hitting the cover off the ball the last week and a half. It gives them more confidence to do that. But we needed more from Stroman tonight, period. You needed more from him tonight. And it's tough to say that because he's been so great this year, and it's not taking away from him, but you needed more from him tonight in a game that you absolutely needed to have against Steven Matz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, listen, he goes 3 2/3. I lean more to blaming the defense behind him more than him because let's just go and I'll explain why after we go over the plays, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, first inning, he strikes out the first batter. Then second batter hits a slow one that gets past Stroman, and Morel has to make a tough play, can't field it cleanly. They call it a hit, whatever. It was a classic infield hit. Then I believe I want to say the next guy gets on. Here, I'll just bring up baseball savant because I forgot. Okay, so Goldschmidt singled, then Gorman hit a line out. And so you have a guy on first with 2 outs, and then Arenado comes up, and he hits it to Wisdom. The ball goes past him, and because it's with 2 outs, Goldschmidt's able to go from first to third. And so you have first and third with 2 outs. Then, of course, Contreras comes up, has the revenge game moment, whatever, and hits the double to drive in the first run. So, again, if Wisdom fields the ball,
you're out of the
inning, and there's 0 runs.
Oh, I agree.
And that changes it changes the feel of the game for sure. Or the feel of the game isn't like, starting the game down 1-0 in the first inning. It's not a big deal for a team that's not struggling, but you know how this Cubs team is. It can be up and down, and in a way, it goes towards the lack of mental toughness on this team sometimes. But again, that's one run that should not have happened, right? Second inning, he walks Tyler O'Neill. Okay, he walked 4 tonight. Not great. He strikes out Jordan Walker next. Then Paul DeYoung comes up and hits it to Wisdom, and he overthrows Morel at second base. And instead of getting a double play, it prolongs the inning, and then he walks Nootbaar, and then he gets the double play, and you get out of the inning. Still only 1 run. So he gets out of it, like you said, right? But yeah, 2 walks that inning, which made him throw more pitches than he should have. So again, the pitch count was high, 1 because of the walks and 2 because of the errors. Okay?
A lot of balls in play for the Cardinals too tonight.
Right. But like the thing
Stroman,
is
that's
that's Stroman,
yeah.
right? He gets a lot of soft contact. Anyway, I think after that though, that I want to say it's the 4th inning. Double, home run by Walker, fly out, single, strikes out Gorman. Then Arenado hits the double to drive in the 2 other guys. Then he walks Contreras, and then a line out to end that inning from Burleson. And I think after he walked Contreras, I think that's whenever David Ross had already decided to take him out. So, yeah, the walks were Stroman's biggest problem tonight for sure.
I mean, just that home run on the 0-2 pitch.
And the home run.
You just can't. And again, this is not ever people saying Stroman sucks in the chat. He does not suck, guys.
No.
Everybody's due a bad outing. You're playing in Major League Baseball. And he really wasn't horrible tonight. He just didn't give them enough in the game that you were really hoping he'd give you a little bit more in. And that's all we're trying to say.
I'm not even saying that he pitched good. I'm just blaming the defense behind him for really putting him in the position to give up these runs.
It's the margin of error that they can't afford on this team.
And again, this team's built on pitching and defense, man. Like you said that Wisdom hasn't been that bad at third base this year. I think most of us would disagree in terms of,
Yeah, I think I saw
stats.
-5 runs saved. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. We saw that in the chat from somebody. Again, when I say that I don't think Wisdom has been that bad, I look at his strong throwing arm and certain things. I don't know if he's not. We talked about this earlier. He's not a starting third baseman on a playoff caliber baseball team. We know that he's a DH, man. Mm-hmm. He's a DH on a playoff caliber team. He's your backup third baseman. But guess what? Madrigal's hurt. The people saying Ross, no. Wisdom needed to be in there tonight, and he struggled.
Yesterday everyone.
That's not Ross's fault. Like David Ross did not lose this game.
Yesterday,
guys.
Everyone was crying about Mastroboni being in the lineup instead of Wisdom, and now you're crying about Wisdom being in the lineup today when he was in there because he's facing a left-handed pitcher. I mean,
exactly.
This isn't on David Ross tonight.
No,
if you want to blame David Ross on this game tonight, then I think you've just been blaming David Ross for everything all season. And if that's what you want to do, fine. Like, I think it's soft and I think it's lazy, but whatever makes you happy, man. Yeah. But the one thing I will say about Stroman, though, is that the walks have kind of been a problem with him all season. If you just look at the game logs,
how many did he have tonight?
He had 4.
4? Yeah, that's too many in less than 4 innings pitched.
And I'm trying to find, while we've been talking about this, I've been trying to find out like where he ranks among like the most, like with the most walks in the league this year.
Let's get a look at the starting pitcher stats too.
While I'm looking that up, we can look at this. Yeah.
Great outing for Mats tonight. Credit where credit is due. It's just unfortunate that the Cubs are coming off a high octane offense series against the Nationals, and really laid an egg. Only 5 hits tonight, 3 of them from Yan Gomes. I mean, that's not a recipe for success. And again, you don't need us to tell you that. That's just obvious, man. 5 innings for Mats tonight. His ERA is 4.67. 3 hits only given up. He only walked 1. He had 6 strikeouts. Stroman 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 7 hits, 3 2/3. So yeah, the upper hand to Mats tonight. But if there is any silver lining to this, before I let you talk about a little bit more about this, is the Cardinals bullpen threw a lot of guys tonight. That bullpen already is one of the worst in baseball. They really, really struggle on the back end. Now the next 3 games, if you can, start to chase. Cubs have had real good success against Miles Michaelis. He's not the starter tomorrow. Flaherty is, but Michaelis will go Saturday. These are going to be games now where you could test this bullpen out a little bit, and that's the spin zone tonight. There's my spin zone. There's my positive spin zone. Mm-hmm. You worked the bullpen a little bit tonight.
Our friend Brennan Miller in the chat, he says 40th percentile walk rate for Stroman. And I'm just looking at the standard numbers here. Like, he's walked someone in every single start this year. His first, even like whenever he was like started off the season hot, man, like he walked 3 batters in each of his first 2 starts of the year. Tonight 4. He tied the most for the season with 4 tonight. He's only done that twice, but like that's kind of the thing that he's been able to avoid, like having issues with coming back to hurt him this year. He's been able to get double plays in big moments when you need it. He's been able, keep the ball in the infield and get those the soft contact ground ball outs. He's been doing a lot of that this year. But tonight it was one of those nights where that didn't happen, and it really hurt him, especially in that fourth inning. And so, I think anyone who thinks Marcus Stroman sucks, blah blah blah, like, stop lying to yourself. Yeah. You want to scream into the YouTube chat and
you're frustrated,
be pissed. Like, I get it. Like, I'm pissed too, man. Like, yeah, I wanted this team to reel off, 7 or 8 in a row and maybe think differently in a week, but it's not going to happen. But he made the All-Star team for a reason this year, and it wasn't even because of fan voting. Like, players and coaches voted him in. So stop with that.
I just saw up in the chat a little bit, scroll up just a little bit more. Yeah, from David Snyder. Sweeping the Cardinals. Reality check, folks. That was never in the cards, pun intended. Now hoping for a split. Wishful thinking was hoping for 3 out of 4. Right. After the show last night with you and Corey and Ryan too, we all kind of sat there in the post room while I was getting the audio ready to post online, and Corey just goes, I just have a bad feeling about this series. There's no way they're getting a sweep, and we all know that. We all kind of felt that. It's so hard. In baseball in general, it's hard to sweep a 4-game series no matter who you're playing. Now you're playing your rival in games that you must win. You're on the hot seat. They've won now. They came in 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
They had the momentum on their side. Yeah, getting a sweep was not going to happen.
Yeah.
But this was the game that you really thought was the shoe-in victory, and I think that's why you and I are frustrated. That's why the chat is so frustrated, because the pitching matchup was so, the percentiles were so different. I mean, it was there for the taking. 5 hits, not going to do it tonight.
I see our friend Michael Collide in the chat. For a game they needed, Cy Young Matt's pitching. They lay an egg. No excuses. Ross must go. Jed, you can find another yes man somewhere. You want me to criticize Ross, and I know some of you probably do just because you're so pissed. I'll say this. For the team to come out and play like this tonight in a game, like when games matter like this, for David Ross and I guess, not have them ready to go, or at least make us from a fan perspective feel like they're not ready to go, I think that's worthy of some criticism. So there you go. I don't know how much that plays into this. Again, Dansby Swanson's been out. I think, if anything, what we've learned over this stretch since the All-Star break is how valuable of a player he is. Because let's just think about it. If Swanson's at short, you got Horner at second. Maybe they are playing Morel at third base consistently. David Ross said on the score the other day that if Swanson was in there, Morel would be getting more chances at third. At least we'd be seeing some development from him at third base a little bit. Maybe he doesn't make all these bad errors in this game like Patrick Wisdom did tonight. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think that's what we all want to see at the very least in terms of the future of this organization. That's just a little part of it.
They see way more than we do in terms of practices, obviously, and things like that. So I don't know. I do trust their judgment when they say Morel is not as good of a third base option as Patrick Wisdom, or he's not as good of a third base option as Mastrobuoni. I believe them when they say that. Ross said,
well, no, he was literally on the score 2 days ago and said that when Swanson comes back, he's going to get opportunities to play at third. And he was starting to get some opportunities at third before Swanson got hurt before the All-Star break.
But what he said was Mastrobuoni's a better second baseman right now, so that's why he's going to get more opportunities to play there, which is going to, and then they're not comfortable yet.
You mean third base?
No, I mean second base. Mastrobuoni, because they put Mastrobuoni at third yesterday too.
Yeah.
And I think that they believe right now he's a more polished defender at second and third base, but they're going to give, obviously, Morel, that's the only spot that's going to be available for him.
Yeah.
But they see more of him than we do. If they don't think he's a complete polished product at third base, I tend to believe them on that.
And I agree. They know that that's the spot they have to get him to be able to play. Again, all I'm saying is Patrick Wisdom isn't going to be on the next great Cubs team, bro. And so,
he's got 3 years arbitration. It's going to be cheap. Oh my God. You never know.
All right. Whatever. But we know that Christopher Morel, 24-year-old Christopher Morel, has to be in the lineup every day and play, and have to be able to play at one particular position. And so
he's the more exciting story, and I think he's got the higher ceiling at third, absolutely. But is this the time to give him that chance to do it? I mean, I guess now Wisdom really had a bad game today, so
dude,
he hasn't been
I know
sharp.
that they're not going to do it right now with Swanson out. All I'm saying, the whole point of what I was saying is that if the team was more healthier, as in if Swanson was in the lineup, one, your offense would probably be better, and two, you'd have the better defensive alignment. I guarantee you they'd rather play Patrick Wisdom in DH instead of whoever else. You know, they've had the DH Mike Tauchman a few days this week. They're playing Trey Mancini at first base because Jared Young has been bad and they're not ready. They don't want to bring up Mervis yet, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in the second segment. Like, in a way.
You think they'll give Morrell more starts at third than Mastroboni when Swanson's healthy?
Yes, or Madrigal's supposed to be back next week. It'll be him, and then they'll probably put Morrell back in DH. And then they would probably, flip it around with him and Wisdom some a little bit.
We got Gary in the chat. Get Slaughter up for third. Hey, man, we're going to talk a little bit more about guys in the minor leagues right now and guys in this lineup that just straight up aren't hitting. I'm sure you can think of who we're going to mention. I get it. I get that you want Slaughter. I know you've been promising Slaughter. I don't know if it's going to be him, but we're at the point where it has to be somebody now because there's too many holes in the lineup.
All I'm saying is that we're seeing how bad this team is without Dansby Swanson. That's all I was saying with this whole spiel that we've just went on for the last 3 minutes. So, hopefully he's able to play tomorrow.
Yeah,
because they desperately need him so they can put Nico back at second and move, maybe, be able to move Wisdom or Morrell. Move Wisdom to your DH or help. Trey Mancini's been so bad. Maybe you put Wisdom over at first base. Like, it can't be any worse considering how bad Trey Mancini has been. He's played a little first base until they bring up Mervis. They're going to call Mervis back up eventually. So I think
we're getting close.
Yeah. So it's just a tough situation, and it all kind of just goes back to how kudos to everyone who thought this 2 months ago. Congrats on being right. I've accepted. I just think the Cubs are unserious this year with the way that they are managing their players in the minors, and waiting until probably after the trade deadline. Gary, you keep complaining about no Jake Slaughter. Yeah, because they probably will call him up after the trade deadline whenever they were able to move some of these guys off the roster, and then they can see what he has. It's goes back to Nelson Velasquez. Nelson Velasquez was on the roster for most of last year. Wasn't very good, but he's been decent in Iowa this year. Has a 94 WRC plus in Iowa this year, but whatever. He has power. He's driven in runs, but he's had 1 or 2 stints with the Cubs this year, and they've all been in very short stints. Hits a grand slam against the Mariners, and then they sit him the next day. Make it make sense. And you can't make it make sense. So all I can think is they're just unserious about,
they're playing for next year.
Yeah, they're playing for next year. They're giving all these guys an opportunity to do all these veteran guys to do whatever, and they're trying to build the young guys that they do really like a Horner and some Morrell and all those. They're trying to get them going and trying to turn them into really solid major leaguers. And it's
going to take some time, right?
Yeah.
For all these guys.
I don't blame people in the chat or anyone listening who doesn't like the process of how they're doing it, because hell, there's things about it that piss me off, but I've just realized that's just what it is. I think maybe the Cubs record's a little bit different if they had done the process a little bit different. For instance, I still think Christopher Morel has played so well since coming up that it makes you question why the hell they even started him in the minor leagues, especially with Seiya Suzuki starting the year hurt, with the team not having a lot of power at all. He's second on the team in homers. It don't make any sense.
Right.
Makes you question the process, makes you question what the hell we're doing. So, again,
I see
a lot of things just don't make sense to me.
I see a lot of one thing that really doesn't make sense is, and I understand we're trying to play couch manager, and a lot of people are saying, well, does Nico need to learn third in the offseason? Why make one hole another hole? I get that Morel could play second base. He made a couple really nice plays today. The first inning, made a really nice sliding play out in right field, short right field, threw the guy out, saved 2 runs. But Nico is a polished second baseman, middle infielder. I'm hesitant to say that moving him to third makes you a better ball club by putting Morel at second base when Morel has a stronger arm and Nico and Dansby are so polished up the middle.
Listen, I think they would
just go out and get a third baseman, man. This is what I mean. Just go out and get a third baseman. There's guys that are going to be available. Just go out and get one. You don't have to sell the farm for Nolan Arenado. Go out and get a legitimate third baseman.
Like this topic in general, like it goes back to what I was saying about how they're just unserious. Like if they really wanted to win this year, I think they would have already moved Nico to third and put Morel at second. I genuinely I feel that or at least they would have tried it out, just because Morel plays better at second than he does at third, and Nico he's Nico. And
he could play
it. He
could definitely play it.
Will he bring the power you need at third base? No, but at least the defense is great.
I'm just not going to entertain that because
I'm not entertaining. I'm just saying if they cared about winning this year, they would have started doing that 2 months ago. But they've been just staring at this problem at third base and first base all season and just saying, oh, yeah, this has got to change and these guys got to do this and that, and then just hoping that it happens, and that's it. You know?
You know what we need? A big inhale. And let it out, just like you would with a Sunnyside joint, Cody.
Oh, look at you, Kevin.
Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. One-stop shop for all of your cannabis needs, no matter where you are on your cannabis journey. Easy online ordering, in-store pickup, great transparent loyalty program. Sunnyside Rewards, Illinois' favorite dispensary. From the city to the suburbs, Wrigleyville to River North, Champaign, over to South Beloit even. Wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know they had one there. An athlete that made me feel good this week, just like Sunnyside did. I'll tell you, man, I have really, really enjoyed the steadiness of both Kyle Hendricks and Yan Gomes. Make me feel real nice and steady. Yan Gomes 3 hits today.
The only good thing about this summer has been the summer of Mike Tauchman. So
Sunnyside's got a couple cool brands that you can choose from, too. They got gummies and chocolate edibles and things like that. There's the Mindy's brand. Chef Mindy Siegel and Cresco Labs have created these gummies and these edibles that you can try. The gummies they got a rechargeable vape pen and a cart, perfect for great moments with the crew. Through August, you can head to sunnyside.shop. Use promo code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. That's not only for new customers. Anyone can use that code. You can pick up everything you need to elevate your summer, but again, must be 21 or over and an Illinois Med card holder.
David in the chat said the Cubs need to pregame at Sunnyside, which they could with that location in Wrigleyville.
It's a great one. Our buddy Corey is always going there. He lives right around the corner from
You know what goes well with Sunnyside?
College.
All right? Students are just like you, Kevin.
There you go.
Full-time jobs, families, full-time sports fandoms. Go back to school to earn a respected degree at Lewis University, 35 miles southwest of Chicago in Romeoville, ranked as one of U.S. News and World Report's top-tier colleges. Lewis partners with numerous employers for tuition discounts and offers evening, online, and blended formats to help you balance work, family, and education. Faculty bring real-world experience and instruction to the classroom, which is immediately relevant to your career. We offer career support and academic resources for adult students looking to complete your bachelor's or master's degree or enroll in a professional certificate program. Lewis has the right program for you. Lewis offers several career-focused programs that will set you up for success. So one that we'd like to highlight, I mean, I've been talking about computer science and data science every time I read this ad, but they have other ones such as criminal justice, cybersecurity, aviation, business analytics, other business programs and technology programs. Sounds like you can just basically be whatever you want to be if you go to Lewis University. So discover how a degree from Lewis can help you build a better world. Learn more at lewisu.edu/you can do this. Maybe they should send Trey Mancini to Lewis and maybe they'll teach him how to hit again, man.
Poor Trey Mancini. It was, I'll tell you.
Oh, before we get to that, should we do the super chat? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
No, yeah, sure. Lebowski 5, $10.
$10. I haven't seen a Cubs game since they went to Marquee. It seems like they're going back to the way they ran their team from the 90s to 2009. One prospect here and there, free agent here and there.
That's exactly what we kind of talked about last night, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do think actually, I don't know.
They are spending money, but on the wrong guys. Then they haven't spent money on the big ticket free agent because I think that they want to build a team, you know, and they did. They built a team in 2016 that was all pretty much homegrown guys, few acquisitions here and there. And
that is a big free agent signing of John Lester.
Yeah,
and, Ben Zobrist.
They supplemented the roster with a couple of those.
Jason Hayward, yeah.
But yeah, they've missed.
Mackey.
That's also before we didn't see, you know, early on a lot of these superstars getting moved around like they are now and demanding trades and things like that. And you're right. That's an okay way to feel. It can feel frustrating at times when there's a big ticket free agent out there that it just seems like the Cubs are out on. And I hate to break it to you guys, but if you're feeling any different about that right now, they're not in it for any big ticket free agents or big ticket trade deadline acquisitions here either.
I don't think anyone's thinking that, to be honest with you. So.
Well, that's good because you shouldn't be.
I guess before we talk about first base, like we kind of were, should probably mention Nick Madrigal's going on a rehab assignment. Starting tomorrow in Iowa, and the Cubs hope that he's able to be back for the Crosstown Series next week. So that Nick Madrigal revenge tour or series should be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good.
And at least they'll be able to put their best defensive third baseman back at third, which, listen, for about 50 to 70 at-bats, I can't remember however many, he actually was playing really well, and the Cubs were playing well because of it. I can't believe I'm saying it, dude, but, like, they've really missed him. The defense at third has been bad. It highlighted a lot tonight. You know, like, as much as I want to see Morel play at third base as soon as the trade deadline is over, because we're on to development, we're on to finding a position for him, we're on to trying to do whatever. Like, I know they're gonna have to play. They're gonna want to play Madrigal too.
Yeah, I mean, Madrigal,
and he hasn't boosted enough trade value to move him, and that's what I would rather. That's what I want them to do. I want them to trade him because there's just nowhere for them to really play him. His best position is second base, in my opinion, based for the type of player he is, his player profile. But given the situation that he was in with the Cubs this year, he honestly took the role, and you know, the offense struggled the first handful of months, but the defense was always there. I'll give him that. But yeah, I just hope that when he does come back, the Cubs don't take away opportunities for Morel to play third. Because at that point, it just doesn't matter about wins and losses.
And Madrigal, it's going to be nice to have him come back and have the bat in the lineup, and that's something maybe we wouldn't have said a while ago. But listen, he was having a really good June. I mean, he had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-game hit streak, went hitless on the 29th in Philly, and then 2 more hits in Cleveland. Had a hit, that double in Milwaukee that scored a couple runs right before he got hurt, the inning before he got hurt. So yeah,
he had a good series in London too.
Yeah, so you're right. It will be nice to get Madrigal back, but again, the Cubs should not be struggling because of the lack of Nick Madrigal's bat in the lineup. That speaks to the roster construction, and that speaks to the mediocrity of this team. Nick Madrigal should not be the reason you're winning and losing games. He should not be the savior to the offense and things like that. Do you miss his bat? Sure, yeah, but, I mean, come on. I mean, any other team contending right now, they'd be like, oh, great, we're getting Madrigal back. That'll be a nice little depth piece. The Cubs are in a completely different situation right now, and that's difficult.
It was basically saying what I was hoping they would have been able to do with him going into the year because, again, like, I just don't see him as the future third baseman for this organization. But
Yeah,
it would be nice to get him back. That way they at least have a consistently decent defensive third baseman. And, if he hits, then he looks even better. So
yeah, so you hopefully, next week, I mean, we're already talking about next week. I know it's whatever. We've got a whole series ahead of us here still. But hopefully next week you get Swanson and Madrigal back, 2 bats that you miss. You miss Dansby, obviously, a ton. He's your best player. You miss him a ton in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I think tonight's game is really going to get something churning a little bit when it comes to the front office and trying to get somebody up here for the first base position.
Yeah.
And you feel horrible for Trey Mancini. He's having a really tough year at the plate. Tonight, saw 18 pitches and 4 at-bats. He made contact with 4 of them. 1 of them was a foul tip. The other one was a foul ball. And then finally, that double off the wall had to feel good. But you just see the look on his face when he's rounding the bag and he comes in a second. You feel for him, man. He's really going through it. He's having an awful year at the plate. And it's not getting any better. And Jared Young has 2 hits, in the month of July. One of them was that infield single on the 4th against Milwaukee, that little tapper up to third base. He can't hit. Both of those guys right now, they're just unplayable at the moment. And you have to look to the minor leagues for a bat. Is it Mervis? Maybe. I hope so. I think they're definitely going to give him another look. Do they want to do it now?
No.
How much do they care about this series, right? Mm-hmm. This is what we mean. If it's not Mervis, who is it? But it has to be somebody at this point, man. It has to be somebody else because those two are not. They're not doing anything.
So Mancini's got a 73 weighted runs created plus, and with 4 homers and 250 plate appearances, man. So he's
Poor guy.
Well below league average hitter. If you don't understand, WRC plus 100 is league average. He is well past 25% below league average in terms of just an offensive hitter in general. And again, he's playing first base and has 4 home runs for the year, right? Like, it's just bad. Mm-hmm. I've said on this podcast, I liked the Trey Mancini signing. I think a lot of people were optimistic about it because he had one bad second half with the Astros that still didn't stop them from winning the World Series. But he was a solid player for the Orioles, man. Like he wasn't like great or like Anthony Rizzo or anything like that. And you knew there was like some issues with defense, but like he is having the worst season of his career.
And it's not getting any better. And I think that
and Jared Young too. Like it's only a handful of play appearances, but 1 home run, 69 weighted runs created plus, and his WAR right now is he's got a minus 0.2 F4. So like he's had issues defensively. There's been games where he's made some bad throws, hasn't fielded the ball. Like it's like anyone the Cubs put over at first base, it feels like it's just unless his name is Cody Bellinger, it feels like it's been a mess. And even Mervis has had some. He's been decent. He's been a surprise defensively when he was up here. He also had some misplays too. So overall, it's just been awful at first base this year. And so when you ask, is it Mervis time again? I think everyone thinks it's Mervis time.
I think it has to be, right? They got to be Jed's thinking about it. Whether it's this weekend or next week, it's got to be soon.
This goes back to what I was saying in the first segment. Like the organization is unserious. They should have started the second half of the season. That Boston series, Matt Mervis should have been on the roster, man. And if it wasn't going to be the Boston series, he should have been here for the Washington series. Because at least you're going up against a bad Nationals team that you're probably able to hit some meatball pitches off of and get your confidence going. And Sharma from The Athletic wrote an article a couple days ago, and he mentioned a source that told him that the Cubs have Mervis working on a particular, something related to his stance and his swing and everything down in Iowa right now. And so they clearly care more about development than they do about winning baseball games. And you spend $300 million in the offseason and then act like this. It just doesn't make any sense.
I didn't envision the Cubs acting like this. If I would have known that they were going to act like this in this year, then no, I wouldn't have predicted the amount of wins that I predicted, and I wouldn't have been as optimistic about the team. But like, yeah, like this issue alone just shows that they're hoping that some things work out, but they've pretty much packed it in, man. Unless Mervis is on the roster tomorrow, that's how I feel. Like and I don't think he will be. I don't think we see him until after the trade deadline, to be honest with you. So they're going to keep running Mancini out there. They're going to run. I mean, hell, they're not even giving Jared Young any plate appearances against righties anymore. I mean, and that was their whole thing. They called him up for him to specifically play against right-handed pitchers, and it's been so bad he's not even getting the opportunity anymore. It's almost a waste for Jared Young to be here because he was tearing it up in Iowa. His confidence has to be shot right now because he's not getting any plate appearances. He's in the doghouse pretty much. It's crazy how he's not getting any plate appearances considering how many other times that they give Barnhart, Mancini, all the list goes on. David Ross continues to give those guys opportunities. But again, like, we knew that Jared Young was, he's a 27-year-old, like, career minor leaguer. Like,
but that's what I mean. If he's not getting opportunities, and you're right, his confidence is probably pretty low right now.
Yeah.
Send him back down.
I agree.
Like,
I think everyone in the chat agrees too.
He's not even a pinch hit option. What did Corey say last night when they brought up Yan Gomes to pinch hit against
Mancini.
the righty? Yeah. They didn't bring Jared Young in to face the righty.
They brought in Yan Gomes.
He's not playable right now. So this is what I mean is this is the part that I'm starting to struggle with. The understanding is, again, I'm sure they have a plan for it, but after watching Mancini again tonight, and there has to be another plan at first base. It has to be somebody from the minor leagues. I think it has to be Mervis. I don't know if it's going to be Mervis. I don't know when they're going to call him up, but I don't know. Again, this is all about, you're right. They definitely want to give him all the opportunities in the minors to get the confidence up, work on the swing, come get ready for major league pitching. I get it. I do get that. But, dude, you can also make a push for it here, but you can't when you're 27th in the major leagues in home runs from the first base position. That's just not how you win baseball games.
Yeah, man.
And I'm sorry. I like Trey Mancini a lot. He's just not playable right now. And I think that is a conversation that is going to – they're not going to cut him. He's on a 2-year deal. But it's time for somebody from AAA to come up and try and give it a shot, because enough of this no production at first base. This is a big series. You're playing you got the Cardinals 3 more times, and then you got them down at Busch Stadium next week. Bring up Mervis. It's got to be Mervis, right? Bring up Mervis. Let him start swinging the bat. It has to happen. Yep. And I didn't want to be the Mervis guy first off, but now I'm going to be the Mervis guy, because it's enough is enough here at first base.
We got a super chat from Joe. $4.99. Nothing will change until Jed is gone. In my opinion, Jed is half the problem. The other half is the players underperforming. Listen, Joe, I don't know if you were in my Twitter space the other night. I don't know if a lot of people were in my Twitter space the other night, but we didn't have a show Monday, so after they lost to the Nationals in Game 1 of that series, I did a Twitter space and just talked a lot about how Jed has failed the organization this year. Has he failed the organization completely? No, because I do think he's made some good trades. The Swanson deal has worked out. He has a higher WAR than any of the other shortstops that signed this year. They talked a ton about the up-the-middle defense. That has been good. Bellinger has bounced back. That was a good signing. We're going to trade him and hopefully get someone who can impact this team next year. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to keep him.
Yeah,
everyone knows my thoughts.
It's been the clutch situations.
He made some good moves, but also some bad moves, right? Like Barnhart, he hasn't. You can't really measure game calling, whatever. Either way, it hasn't been great. Mancini, we're just talking about it, not great. Some of the Fulmer was struggling at the beginning. He's figured it out, so that one's turned itself around. Like they've had too many non-productive players, whether they were from internally that they continue to give chances to, or these veteran free agent guys that are they're hoping for a bounce back, like Eric Hosmer, for example. I didn't mention him. Yeah,
that was
it's
a mess.
been a lot, and like even last season they did the same thing. It's all part of like this quote unquote rebuild we were told wasn't a rebuild. I do think in terms of like building the farm system back up, he's done a good job. Like they're a top 10 farm system now. They were a bottom 10 farm system whenever he took over the job. It's unfortunate though that like a lot of the like top tier ones aren't going to make their debuts until next year. You know what I mean? So it's just been tough going through some of these guys. And that's like the only positive of what the second half of the season is going to be after the deadline is we will probably see Caleb Killian get another opportunity in whether it's in the rotation or the bullpen, whatever. I feel like we'll probably see him. We'll probably see Jordan Wicks. We'll probably see Ben Brown as far as pitchers, you know?
Which will be great.
Yeah, it will at least be intriguing to watch. More intriguing than last.
But it's not what we
half.
wanted this year.
No, it's definitely not what I wanted.
Those aren't meaningful games. If those guys
No.
are pitching in September, they're not meaningful games.
Right, you're right.
It's no offense to those guys.
Well, they're
they could be a
just-
part of the future, but
Those are the types of guys that you try to, whenever you're winning, bring in and hopefully get an extra boost, right?
exactly. Supplementing your roster when you need it.
They'll be coming
Yes.
up and getting a cup of coffee, and we'll see a couple starts, and we'll see what happens. But like, basically going back to his super chat, for me at least, I do think the farm system at least has gotten better. And again, it was a bottom 10 one before Jed took over. So unfortunately, just like I said, like all of the really top tier ones, they're really young still, so we're not going to see them. And hopefully we see Alexander Canario. I know all y'all want to see Nelson Velasquez get some consistent at bats and see if he can build off.
I would like to see Velasquez back up.
Build off his season. I'm with you. That's the only good thing about the second half of the season after they sell some of these dudes. So,
we'll get.
I guess to round it out, I just think that Jed definitely deserves a lot of criticism. I don't think he's been the worst GM or whatever, or VP of baseball operations in baseball or anything like that. But there's definitely a lot of criticism. It seems like he's too conservative in free agency. Could have brought in some other dudes to play first base or third base, right? So, there's definitely room for criticism there.
Cubs lose 7-2 to the Cardinals in the opener tonight. Marcus Stroman, 3 2/3, loses to Steven Matz. Ryan Herrera getting ready to join us from the ballpark. Let's pay some bills first.
Yeah, I'm sure when he was at beautiful historic Wrigley Field before the sun went down, he had his Shady Rays on there in the press box. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn, durable frames, and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact, from building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime. Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now for years to come. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for our listeners, that includes all y'all in the chat, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to ShadyRays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Kevin, I'm sure they'll look real nice on you when you're out at the Cog Hill or that CHGO kickoff.
Yeah,
Classic.
I got my Shady Rays sitting on my dresser back home. I'm going to use them at a scramble this weekend. I'm going to use that scramble to get ready for this golf outing, on August 25th, the CHGO Kickoff Classic at Cog Hill. I mean, this is going to be really awesome. Cog Hill, one of the nicest courses around. If you've ever played it, if you're listening, you've ever played it, you're going to want to check this out. I mean, seriously, it's a great course. all the people from CHGO, all the talent, we're all going to be there. It's going to be 18 holes of golf. Going to have a cart. Cody said he's going to drive the cart because he doesn't want to play, but I think we're going to have to make him play at least a few holes.
Can I just, like, do best ball with someone? You know what that is?
Yeah.
I will do best ball with someone. Just, like, let me if I hit it and it sucks, we'll take yours.
I'm a horrible golfer, too, so I'm going to be drinking, honestly, the
is
whole
awful.
time.
There we go.
Ryan has seen my, like, swing at the Sluggers batting cages. I mean, my golf swing can't be any better than my bat swing at Sluggers, right? Like,
well, as long as you're not on, in my foursome or ahead of me, that's fine. Just play behind me. It's all good. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
I don't care. Whatever, man.
There's going to be hole contests, a bunch of giveaways and prizes. You're going to have lunch provided, drinks, ceremony after the round. Best part is, if you're a diehard, big-time discount for this, guys. I mean, it's really a win-win. Who doesn't like playing golf? And now you get to do it with some of your best Chicago media personalities. Podcasts and live shows, every team, every day. Post-game shows, all this possible with CHGO. Again, you're going to find, and with the diehard, again, great discount here for the CHGO Cog Hill Classic. Again, August 25th. Look it up on our website if you don't know when it is. It's going to start at 9 a.m., 18 holes, bunch of fun stuff. And our guy Ryan Herrera is going to join us. I bet he's going to be at Cog Hill. I don't know how much of a golfer he is. I know he's a good softball player, but I don't know if he's a golfer. Ryan, you a golfer?
I'm not at all a golfer. I've golfed once in my life, and I made a very nice putt, and I thought that was great. But yeah,
are you gonna play?
We'll see. I might just join Jody. I might just join Cody on the golf cart with a 3-1.
Oh yeah, we'll be drinking Goose Islands, just enjoying the weather. Maybe we'll both wear Hawaiians. Or we'll wear that polo that comes with it. That's the CHGO Pins and Aces.
I totally forgot to mention that. Also, if you go to this, you get Pins and Aces gear. A polo. Everybody.
Like a
free golf
CHGO
shirt,
Pins
man.
Aces shirt, right?
Golf shirts are great.
We also have we should probably mention, we also have the Crosstown Series takeover next week. July 26th, Cubs at Sox. We're doing a pregame meetup at 4 o'clock at the Carrick Pub in Oak Forest. And then we'll be shuttled to Guaranteed Rate Field. Game starts at 7:10. We'll be in section 529. So if you get a ticket, go to allchgo.com, hit it, and get it. And you get one of the free T-shirts that's on the screen right now. Obviously, y'all probably want the Cubs one, which is on the left side of the screen. We'll hang out with our Sox friends who also probably are a little bit more miserable than us, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah, they're about to lose half their team.
And they're supposed to be in their winning window. So, I mean, if there's anything that makes me feel better about the Cubs, it's the White Sox.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. August or July 26th, next week. Yeah. I'll be out there at that game. So.
AllCHGO.com to get your ticket. Again, diehards get 20% off, like Kevin said. The ticket gets you the shirt, and you get to go to the game included with it. So, should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys out there. Anyway. Hello, Ryan Herrera.
Yeah, what's up, Ryan?
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot we have to say either.
I'm sure. I mean, I've been kind of looking through the chat a little bit while I've been waiting, and not happy. I'm very positive that people are not happy.
You don't think so? You don't think so, Ryan?
I don't know what else there is to say about this team at this point. It feels like.
Can we get a Ryan Herrera rant?
Oh, man. It's not going to be a complete rant, but it's just, the thoughts I've been having is you look at just the whole season, right? Honestly, you've seen the trends all season that they feel like they're taking a positive step forward, and then they take it feels like they take a pretty big step back. Like you go back to that road trip, I think to begin May in the Miami and Washington, when Miami's better than we give them credit for. Washington obviously isn't, and I think they went 1-6 in that road trip. They have an awful May. June, they win 11 of 13 games. Feels like they're taking a pretty big step forward. They lose that one in St. Louis, and then they come back down to earth where they were at. And they get the All-Star break right after they split in Milwaukee, won 2 of 3 in New York, and they come out and lose a series to Boston. And here you go. They found a little bit of consistency for 2 games right against Washington. Put up a lot of runs on them. Granted, again, it is Washington. Like, they're not a good team. Cubs put up a bunch of runs on them, and then they come out today, arguably their best starter on the mound against 0-7 Steven Matz, and they don't really get anything going. And Patrick Wisdom is, makes 2 official errors, should have been 3 at third base. Stroman, that obviously doesn't help him, but he's not at his best. He said he felt off a little mechanically. And it's just, it's they do stuff right for a couple of days, and then they fall back into the old pattern of the offense doesn't really get anything going. The defense, who we talked about, the team is supposed to be built on defense, and they make a couple errors that lead to bigger innings. Or I think Wisdom's errors ended up costing Stroman about 3 runs, not all officially because of that third error, quote unquote, wasn't ruled an error. But it's overall, this team can't find the consistency. And that's something that Jared wrote about the other day, just about this team. It was after that, the 17-3, 17-4, whatever that game was 2 days ago. And Jared just kind of wrote, like, they're in the last of the important stretches, right? Like, there's no other important stretch following this. It's like, you got to be good in this stretch, and they have to be consistent. And they did that for one day, and then they kind of fell back and felt like they take a step back today. It's tough. You have a fourth place Cardinals team. I think they were like 2.5 games behind the Cubs at this point, so it's not like they're miles behind the Cubs. But you have a fourth place Cardinals team coming here for 4 games, the opportunity to do what Jed said a week ago and get closer to 500. Maybe the Brewers and the Reds won earlier today, so they weren't going to get any closer in the division, but they're not going to lose a game. And they come out and just don't look good, right? It's just that was the game. And, I mean, it's tough to say games are like on a game-by-game basis. It's tough to say that this one is a must-win, right? Just on a daily basis, because baseball happens. The worst team, the A's have like 27 wins, right? So they have to. The worst team is
Jan Gomes get an inside the park home run.
Right.
Yeah, baseball happens.
Twice.
Yeah,
baseball happens, and the worst teams can win on any given day because that's baseball. So that's what I'm saying is like it's tough to say any game is a must win, but considering now you're at 10 games left until the trade deadline, you're 8.5 games back of first place. You're 6 games below 500. Like they really do feel like every game going forward is a must-win game at this point. Like I guess it's a non-zero chance, so to speak, that they could buy. Like there is a possibility out there as a scenario where they're not sellers. But losing this game today, it feels like it's like that is almost the nail in the coffin, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's just frustrating because you had everything you needed to tonight. You're coming off a series where you put up a lot of runs. Your offense was on one, especially in that second game, 17 runs. Tonight you have Stroman going up against one of the worst pitchers in the National League, and you lay down. And I think it's more frustrating because it's the Cardinals, and yes, you have a chance to really put them away here with this series, but you also have a chance to climb back into first, and you just – nobody's questioning effort. They're out there trying every night. It's just, for some reason, the Brewers and Cardinals games, in the games that they should have, they just can't find a way in the clutch to make it happen. Suzuki leaves the bases loaded. He hit it hard. The ball just didn't fall. Guys left in scoring position again tonight. They seem to have the opportunities, and I think just because it's the Cardinals is what makes it super frustrating. And I'm sure the locker room felt that tonight too.
Yeah, I obviously wasn't a happy locker room. The guys got out of there pretty quickly. It's just a frustrating one all around, man. I don't even think it has anything to do with the Cardinals themselves. Right? It's just like they're, like you said, like these guys are out there and they compete, right? The Cubs didn't come into this season intending to sell, from the front office all the way down to the players, obviously. Like they all want to win these games. They all want to be 10 days from now in a position where they're buying and making additions. They all want to do that. And, especially at a player level, like players aren't going out there to lose games because they're not paid to lose games. So they care and they want to win these games, but it's just, it's a frustrating one when you're leaving you're 1 for 9 or 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. You leave 9 guys on base. Yeah, and it goes back to what I said. Yeah. It goes back to what I said. It's like they're not that long stretch where it felt like they were just struggling, game in, game out. And it was like, I remember Ross saying multiple times at different times that, we just can't get the big hit. with a guy in scoring position, can't get him home. They can't get the big hit, and that was it today, right? They had a few chances, maybe make some noise, and just didn't get the big hit when they needed it. And it's kind of the story of the year, right? And it's the clutch moments is what we've talked about, the clutch, high leverage type moments that the Cubs have struggled with, and that's basically been the entire year for them. So, yeah, I'm with you in that. It's the clubhouse obviously isn't happy to lose these games. They're frustrated, but they're gonna continue to say Stroman was kind of asked about it, about how do you finish this pretty important homestand strong, and he player speak obviously is wash it, come back tomorrow, try to get a W. That's what they all say, and that's in a regular world. That's a great mindset to have. Is like, forget about this day, move on to the next one, try to win tomorrow. But you're in a world right now where you're basically hanging on by a thread to potentially buying at the deadline. You can't just keep saying wash it, try to win tomorrow. Like, you have to win tomorrow. You have to win the next day. You have to win the day after that. And it's very frustrating for those guys. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Our YouTube chat is an absolute shambles, but I did see one comment of someone asking if you were able to talk to Wisdom after the game, and obviously he had an impact, a big impact in how the results happened tonight with the error in the first inning, and I think also in the second inning. Yeah, were you able to talk to Patrick Wisdom?
Yeah, we weren't able to talk to Wisdom. We talked to Ross, said he was kind of being evaluated. Obviously, got hit in the head with a fastball.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't even mention that. I completely forgot that happened. When it happened, I was surprised he stayed in the game.
Yeah, which, credit to him that he did. But just with that, you never really know. Had stuff. Stayed in the game. I think he came out a little bit later in the game. I guess we didn't really. Ross said he was still kind of talking to the trainers, being evaluated. We'll have more of an update on that tomorrow. But I think the way he ended it was like he's just angry, right? Like, and I think that's obviously getting hit in the head with a fastball would piss anyone off. But I also think for Patrick Wisdom, another guy that just cares about winning games, and just the way he played in the field. I'm sure that also played into being angry. And maybe he's a guy that certainly could use a flushing of this game and trying to come back and win tomorrow. So no, we didn't get to talk to Wisdom. Hopefully get to talk to him tomorrow, an update on how he feels, talk to him about the game and what happened. But tonight, no, we weren't able to.
Certainly hope Pat's all right. Definitely sending him well wishes. A scary moment. I mean, anytime 96 mile an hour to the helmet. I mean, scary stuff. We really hope he's good. But switching to the other part of the diamond across the infield, it's the evergreen question of the year, right? The first base position. But again tonight, Trey Mancini finally put the ball in play, had a nice double at the end, but 18 pitches, only makes contact with 4 of them. 2 of them are foul balls, one's a foul tip. He's really going through it at the plate right now. Jared Young is not getting looks at all because of how much he struggled. It has to be just watching, and it doesn't have to be Mervis, although Mervis is the most obvious choice. It has to be somebody else at first base, right? And it has to be soon. It has to be like in the next day, in the next week. It has to be.
Yeah, I think this is what I said the other day is that with Mervis is like you're in a position like right now. Like this is like over the last week, obviously. Like the Cubs are in a position right now where they have to win games. Could you make the argument that Mervis having him up here, would he have helped them win games? Possibly. Did the numbers that he had his first stint up here show that that's a certainty? No. So this whole last couple of weeks, and maybe you could have had Mervis up, but obviously winning the games is more important than developing a guy at first base. Like the winning obviously took precedence. And again, you can make the argument that Mervis could have helped. I don't know that for sure, so I won't make that argument myself. Now that we're kind of in a position where, if the Cubs don't sweep the rest of these games, it may come to a point where that whole buying thing is just out the window. Then obviously I think you're gonna see Mervis. He may be up soon. Who knows? But I don't think it's as far. I think once they kind of have made their decision of what they're going to do, And if that decision is going the direction Cubs fans don't want them to do at the deadline, like I would imagine, even if he's not up in the next couple of days, like he will be up relatively soon and will get the bulk of the playing time at first base. I think as long as they sell, which I think right now is the expectation, Mervis will be up and he should get the majority of their playing time. See what you got in the guy. If you're in a position where you're not battling for the playoffs anymore, see what you got. See if you need to really invest in that position, or can this guy start to make those adjustments that you've been wanting to see.
I'm talking about before then, though. I'm talking about even before that. What if we're not playing? If Jared Young's just sitting on the bench. Yeah, and I didn't want to be the Mervis guy. Like early on in the year, I said, yeah, maybe give him a little bit of time, but. Dude, they are getting no production out of first base, and Jared Young's not even playing. I mean, what are we doing here with that? Send him back down and bring somebody else back up. It doesn't have to be Mervis. Bring a bat back up.
That's what I'm getting at with the Mervis specifically. You asked about Mervis. I can't sit here and say you're trying to win games. Matt Mervis is going to help you win games. I can't, because we saw him struggle his first tenure. That's where I'm coming from. Mervis. Could you argue a different bat, right? Like Gary Ross, our good friend, really, really wants Shake Slaughter up right now. Could you argue for someone else? Sure. But you asked the question about Mervis, and that's where I'm coming from. Is I can't say with any certainty Mervis does any better than what they're getting right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think it has to be somebody else right now. If you're serious about winning this series, it's got to be somebody else.
But I just don't think the Cubs are serious about winning this series, or else they would have already called Mervis up.
Who knows?
I feel like they would have done so many other things earlier in the year, as far as calling other guys up to give them an opportunity when guys weren't playing well.
In the chat saying Mervis isn't going to make that big of a. I'm not saying that he's going to come in and be the savior. I'm just saying he hits the ball hard. He puts the ball in the air. I know he struck out a ton, but something needs to change at the first base position, and.
We'll see him after the deadline, man. Don't worry.
Positive note:
if it changes, I'll be surprised.
Anything else new? I know Madrigal's going down for stint in Iowa. Any update? Did you get to maybe?
Is Dansby going to play tomorrow?
Yeah. Did you get to run a one-liner past Dansby? Hey, you playing tomorrow?
No, we didn't get to talk to Dansby. Madrigal, yeah, he's going. He left today, and he's going to start his rehab assignment with Iowa tomorrow. Dansby, Ross still says the hope is that he'll play at some point this weekend. We'll see. During the series is the hope. I don't know if that's tomorrow. I don't know if that's Sunday. They're hoping at some point this series. We'll see. They obviously would like to have Dansby back as soon as possible when they're in this position right now. They obviously didn't want him to miss this much time to begin with, but they obviously want his, I think at least his defense, right? At least to have his defense in there. They want him back and in the lineup as soon as possible. So we'll see.
Cole in the chat says that he thinks that I look like I've moved on from anger to sadness, and he's correct. I have moved on from anger to sadness. The good news, guys, is we're all going to die someday. I mean, what else is there to say? This team is unserious.
What stage of grief is acceptance? I don't remember. It's one of them in there.
I said this, Ryan, before you joined the show, like at the beginning, like, we've clearly seen how bad this team is without Dansby Swanson. So you've seen the value that Dansby Swanson brings to this team. But also, we've just seen despite all the good performance we've got out of starting pitching and Cody Bellinger and Nico Horner's defense and, some of the hot stretches he's been with the bat and, Seizugi's hot right now, finally, thank God. Ian Happ, gets on base a ton, but he's not slugging, whatever. Despite all the good that we've seen with this team, like there's been so much more bad, and it's not even from their best players. It's from all these guys that they just keep running out there, like Trey Mancini and all this. And it's just like the Cubs are unserious this year. It took April, May, June. It took 4 months for me to finally realize that this organization is unserious about this year. So, again, congratulations to everyone who told me that they were and said that I would end up in this position. I guess I can go home, put a clown mask on, put it on the internet for everyone to see, maybe Photoshop my face on the Mr. Rogers gif. I have that on my desktop at home. Like, I can tweet it out for you to make you feel better about being right. Congratulations about being right. I'm sure that's all you wanted was to be right more than the Cubs to be good. Like, whatever. Yes, I have entered sadness mode. I hate the fact that I was completely wrong about this team. They had to sweep the Nationals, and they had if they were going to sweep the Nationals, they had to win 3 of 4 of this series, and well, they lost this game against the Nationals, and that means they had to sweep the series, and they didn't. Like, it's over. I'm sorry, that's where I'm at. Like, it's been an absolute failure from Jed Hoyer this year. Just in this year alone, it's been an absolute failure. You spent $300 million in the offseason, and we're selling at the deadline again. Make it make sense. Fire them all into the sun.
7-2 loss to the Cardinals. Let's get to who you got before we get on out of here tonight. This was a tough one because, again, 5 hits tonight from the Cubs offense. I mean, not a lot to choose from. Again, 3 of the hits came from Yan Gomes. So I definitely did not win. Nico, Morel, Hap, Mancini, Amaya.
Taking Mancini.
Trying to manifest it. Yeah. I don't know.
I was trying to manifest Hap. He had another bad night, man.
Morel had a walk and an RBI. One of the 2 RBIs in the day.
That's got to be a winner then.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Morel's got to be a winner because the rest of that.
Nico had 2 walks.
Okay.
Amaya had a walk with 2 strikeouts. Yeah, I would say Morel. Well, Mancini had the double. He was the one extra base hit of everyone.
Oh yeah, Mancini did have the double.
One double.
With no RBIs.
Brendan's in the chat saying, "Let's go."
Oh man, Ryan, good for you, man. You're in first place still. Who you got?
I think I'm just building my lead in first place. I think.
There you go. Well,
yeah, I guess we give it to Ryan because his guy did drive in one of the 2 runs.
Cubs could take some notes.
Ryan leads. He now officially leads all of us. Yeah, so congratulations.
Man,
the most important thing about the entire season which is who you got. Ryan Herrera officially takes the lead. Luke Stuckmeyer's got some building to do when he comes back next week, I was told today.
Oh,
man, you buried the lead.
We buried the lead. If you stayed for the entire show, you know now that Luke Stuckmeyer will be back sometime next week. I want to say he'll be here Tuesday.
Are you saying he's finally done drinking margaritas on the beach in Mexico?
Well, you never went to Mexico. You see his tweet yesterday? He was in Arlington Heights. It's a staycation, man.
I think he was in Mexico for like the first 3.5 weeks of it, you know?
Maybe, yeah. No, he's finally done living it up on the beach in Mexico and traveling the world and, you know, doing everything he can to be away from the Chicago Cubs and I guess us too. He said, finally, I got to come back and help the boys feel better, so... Right.
He really is a positive presence when the Cubs lose these big games. He really does manage to keep us kind of on the tracks. So, yeah, Stuckey's back next week. That's big news. That's the biggest news of the night. Cubs lose 7-2 tonight. We got one more super chat.
We have one more super chat from Mariano, who sent us a bunch last night too, so we should definitely read this one.
Yeah, appreciate you, Mariano.
Ross's lineup construction is terrible. Why leave Tauchman out of the lineup? Mancini at first is a disaster.
He's got no other options right now.
I mean, the reason that Tauchman, and whether you want to be happy with it or not, the reason that he was out of the lineup is because he's just not nearly as good as against lefties as he is righties. And Steven Matz's numbers say that righties have mashed him. Hitters were hitting over 300 against him, but not tonight, of course, because he's playing the Cubs. So, yeah, that's why Tauchman wasn't in there. And Mancini, again, like we talked about it, it ends. Like, who else is he going to play out there right now, man?
Shorto, trade Luke.
Trade Luke.
Can we
trade Luke for Ohtani?
I agree with Luke's vacation strategy, Cole Blair. Yeah, I guess I have to pick up for Luke. I pick up the assist there. I have to say all the people that agree with him. So, yeah, bad news. Cubs lose tonight, 7-2. They're 45-51. They're 8.5 back of first place once again with the Brewers and Reds both winning. The good news, Luke Stuckmeyer will be back in just a couple of days. But, Ryan, thanks for joining us from the ballpark. Thanks to all of you in the chat today. Tough loss for the Cubs. 3 more. Justin Steele goes tomorrow. You got something else?
Pre and post tomorrow. For sure pre. Like last night I said at the end of the show that we were going to do pre today. I was wrong. I lied to you. I'm sorry. We definitely are doing pre-game before tomorrow's game, and then we'll do post. It's me and Corey, and then obviously Ryan will be at the park. So
great.
Come and be miserable with all of us.
Well, I definitely am looking forward to that. A Friday 120 tomorrow. Justin Steele is on the mound. Hopefully can get the Cubs back in the win column. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Again, back tomorrow, pre- and post-game. Let's try and fly the W tomorrow.